Sometimes there can be pushback to emotional intelligence development because of what we think is required. What might be required of us that we're thinking about is that we have to become someone different. And that different is not something we're interested in. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be that kind of a leader. I don't want to be that kind of an executive. I don't want to be that kind of a founder. And that fear of becoming that type of person is what creates the pushback. However, because trust is a major contributor to well-being, performance, and success, it's a terrible idea when developing emotional intelligence to think, well, what's the opposite of what I'm currently doing? And then just do the opposite. So for example, executive one. Let's just say executive one is a leader that really invests a lot in relationships, treats their employees like family, and then when chips are down, has a really hard time with pushback or accountability. And executive two treats their employees more like resources, focuses on the technical and the performance and the metrics, and doesn't really pay much mind or invest much time in employee well-being. We could see these as opposites to each other. But when push comes to shove, the worst thing to do, either training or coaching, is to swing the pendulum in the opposite direction. It's not going to feel authentic to the individual. And as soon as it doesn't feel authentic to the individual, their natural state, their natural rhythm, who they are as a person, their personality, then what happens is dissonance in how they're operating internally and how they're showing up on the outside. And everyone else can read that. And that breaches trust. Now, when trust starts to fall apart, then we lose sort of any semblance of really good culture, which also means we'll lose performance and well-being and success. So what we have to do when we're thinking about our emotional intelligence development is when we recognize that we're operating at a polarity. And we might recognize this because we're getting feedback. We might recognize it because we're beating our head against a brick wall. We're doing the same thing. We're not getting any results. We might recognize it because our retention is low, performance is dropping. There's a host of reasons why we might recognize it. As soon as we recognize it, the thing we have to do is give ourselves a moment to pause and think about balancing. If I'm at this end of the polarity, if I'm using a lot of assertiveness, focusing on performance, on metrics, and other people are talking about other things, and I'm rigid in what I'm talking about, being able to take a moment to pause, breathe, listen. Hold this skill where it is while you dial up this other skill, showing interest in the other perspective, the other information. Bring it inclusively into your thinking. You don't have to drop what you're thinking about or what you're giving attention to. You have to be inclusive of. And this creates a larger pool of information for decision making. It's inclusive of more things, more than just what's in my head. When we take that approach, the individual gets the opportunity to remain authentic to themselves, which helps to really strengthen the trust dynamic that exists. And this encourages other people to keep sharing their ideas, to keep innovating, to keep thinking of more ways, and to also listen to your ideas. See, as a leader, we're going first. So if we demonstrate flexibility and inclusiveness in thinking, then we're teaching other people, this is how we do it here. However, if we demonstrate rigidness and only assert and don't balance our skills, we're also teaching people that's how we do it here.